Not true. Is he even following what's happening here?
I think Kuihman is probably above average intelligence.
Connor may be at times, but he is Mensa compared to Diorio. That's just true.
He's being very mean, but is he wrong though? So the only warning shot I ever fired in anger was against an adolescent black bear.
That was close. That was close. Let's get into this. Connor's been talking about me, guys. Connor's talking about my US military takes or something. In his title, he put, Hassan and Kuihman attack veterans, old but gold. So I assume this is some segment I've done at some point where I defended Hassan from what I saw as unfair criticism or virtue signaling, and probably made my own separate offensive comments about US military veterans. So let's take a look.
Classic thousands humor. So, anyways, let's do this, and let's do this. Let's do a little intro. It should be fun. It should be fun. Basically, we're going to be talking about war, and we're going to be talking about veterans, and suicide, and homicide, and geopolitical conflict, and lefties being maybe on average smarter than conservatives, but on the whole, still having an incredible amount of Dunning-Kruger and being wildly ignorant of current events and violence. It should be fun. So let me go ahead and make sure that the video quality is sufficient in order to be okay. And let's
is this gonna... Do I not understand how sniping jobs work? Is that what this is going to be?
Try and get cracking. Hi guys, welcome to Counterpoints. My name's Connor. I'm a science fiction, politics, and philosophy nerd, a Marine Corps and law enforcement veteran. I would argue a real Republican, and I'm trying to be a rhino. I'm trying to be a Republican who is honest, has integrity.
Dude, he's doing a segment for this and everything.
And
wow, look at
I
this.
got a little bit of content for you today. So recently, Hassan Piker got in
The video's
trouble.
quiet.
He was trying to travel to the United Kingdom in order to give a speech. There were media outlets, conservative media outlets in the United Kingdom, who said that if you are going to ban ban right-wingers from traveling to the United Kingdom, then Hassan Piker has said vile, cruel right-wing outlets in the United Kingdom, who said that if you are going to ban Hassan...
No.
ban right...
No, Connor is like totally misportraying the story here. It was not the outlets. The argument being made is not, oh, if you're going to ban right-wingers, then you should ban Hassan too. They don't really ban right-wingers. They had a bunch of people come over and say totally insane for Unite the Kingdom, both last year and this year. They don't really ban right-wingers. You have to be like Kanye West level to get banned. You have to say, I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people, if you're a right-winger. So that was not the argument made. The argument made was you shouldn't let this radical, extremist, anti-Semite into the country after we've had a bunch of anti-Semitic terrorist attacks. That was the argument made. It was not a hypocrisy argument that was made to have his visa revoked. That's immediately irritating to me. Like, GB News made that argument, but that's one media outlet that nobody really boomers kind of give a about, but the government don't make decisions based on it. It was about like Labour Friends of Israel and all this shit, all these lobby groups.
Wingers from
they had Nick Shirley in the country. Like,
traveling to the United Kingdom, then Hassan Piker has said vile, cruel, and evil shit that is fucked up enough that he should be likewise banned from the country. And what actually happened is they revoked his visa. For now, he's not allowed to travel to the United Kingdom, which I think is funny. Now, within the past 24 hours, I bumped into this content. It is a little bit older, but it is Kuihman reacting to Hassan Piker discussing veterans and veterans issues in reference to the United States military. It might be a little bit reacception because we got some Hutch in here, we got some Kuihman in here, we got some Hassan Piker in here. But the truth is that the topic at hand of how should veterans perceive the war on terror, how should we perceive American empire, how should we perceive our role on the world stage, how should we treat veterans, is all on the table, and I think it's all interesting. So let's go.
If somebody said, hey, I have a problem with black people, and then started jumping into crime rates, that would be exactly the same thing as what he just did.
Wow. This one's going to follow him for a while, you guys. That is a wild thing to say.
Your dead friend's immune from any criticism or judgment because he did it to figure out his head, figure out his life. So brand new Hassan banger, guys. Brand new Hassan banger. Everyone's upset over this Hassan clip. Let's take a look and figure out why. So he's responding to a chatter when he says this.
15 years out from Iraq, eat my balls. Do you even have your balls remaining, or did IED explode them for you, dumbass? Shut the up talking about Islam. You are an infinitely bigger terrorist than any random Muslim ever could be, dumbass. Shut your ass up. Go enjoy your PTSD, asshole. You. Imagine having the audacity to be like, yeah, I went to Iraq. I went to Iraq. And it's actually Islam that's the biggest danger. You're the danger,
briefly,
idiot.
But I'm quickly remembering, this is the video where Hutch is like, my friend went to Afghanistan or Iraq, wherever the fuck, to get his life in order, sort his shit out. And then he stepped on an IED, and and everyone was like, there was some joke where it's like, yeah, why did he step on an IED? Why did he step on an IED? Because he was out there. I remember this now. This is coming back to me.
You're a danger to your family and a danger to yourself, douchebag. Lol, that's getting clipped, Lamont. I don't give a dude. Shut
So we're already hitting my favorite.
up. If you go to Iraq and you learn that lesson, you realize.
Okay, we've already hit my favorite talking point. I think you guys know where I'm going to. Iraq Body Count Project. This was originally created by...
Is he just gonna say, "Oh, the U.S. actually did try to conduct a moral campaign"? Is that what he's gonna say? They did practice proportionality and
people who were incredibly critical of the United States regime and their intervention in Iraq. And what they did is they actually confirmed with morgues and medical officers and medical coroners and EMTs and birth records and all that kind of shit, the people who actually died in armed conflict in Iraq. Now, what's interesting about this is that if you actually go to the stats, you can correlate, you can create multiple graphs. So all Iraq, any perpetrators using any weapons, you can actually isolate IEDs. You can isolate small arms. You can isolate indirect fire. But what's more interesting to me is U.S.-led coalition, no Iraqi state forces, or U.S.-led coalition, including Iraqi state forces without the coalition, all anti-government occupation forces, Islamic State, okay? And so the reason why I like doing this is because if you actually take a look at the stats of coalition-confirmed homicides, they are a huge spike during the invasion, obviously. During the invasion, they're going to be killing the shit out of people. But if you look at, as it rolls on, 2004, 2005, 2006, 2007, which was arguably the most violent time in Iraq, and then if you look at the rise of ISIS, coalition homicides were maybe 10%, maybe 20% of total homicides in Iraq. And then if you go add in the Iraqi state forces, it's still, these are the people who are fighting alongside us. It is still maybe 20% of the homicides were committed by Iraqi state forces. So,
okay, so what's the point
I'm
here?
not trying to be too much of an asshole up front because I know I might be fucking with your perception of the war on terror. But Ali Cattail says, that's cool. Who made that tool based on what data? I mean, you can go check it out. Incidents, individuals, recent events, submit information, analysis about IBC. So, I mean, if you want to read it, here's the about section. So if you want to read that on your own time, go ahead. But effectively, the point is that people misunderstand why or how the Iraq conflict was committed, which is effectively, and we have like so much video evidence, firsthand testimony, military veteran stories and all that kind of stuff. And if you listen to a leftist talk about Iraq or Afghanistan,
I don't think, okay, I could be like totally crazy. The way I don't hear like lefties talk about the methods of war in Iraq in the same sort of, like, obviously it's not like a 20th century war, you know what I mean? It's not like they weren't like Vietnam, dropping napalm. I mean, well, but you know what I mean? It wasn't like this total scorched earth conflict. I don't think people really, I don't hear it presented that way. I really don't. Yeah, exactly. Just phosphorus. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's true. I'm pretty sure. They used phosphorus in Iraq. Is that not true? Yeah, white phosphorus was used illegally. Yeah. Either way, look, not the point. It's different to a 20th century like Vietnam War is the point. It is not, the way it's spoken about. While obviously lefties do portray it as horrific because that is absolutely how they see it, that it is not spoken about in the same way. I thought this is reductive, but hey, we'll keep listening.
What happened was it was just the scene from Full Metal Jacket. I'm actually not going to play it because I know that'll get copyright struck. But there's a scene from the movie Full Metal Jacket where an M60 gunner is clearly just firing at civilians. They're just people in a rice paddy, no visible weapons, and he's just laying into them with an M60 machine gun. And so he starts talking shit to the combat camera guys who are inside the helicopter. And the combat camera guy says, that's crazy. That's fucked up. How are you shooting women and children? Well, I guess the first question is like, why are you shooting all those people? And then he says, well, anybody who runs is Viet Cong. Anybody who doesn't run is suspected, is well-disciplined Viet Cong. Then he says, oh, I've killed over 200 people. And so one of the combat cameramen say, you shoot women and children? And he's like, yeah, sometimes. And he's like, how do you shoot women and children? And he's like, it's easy. You just lead them a little less. Clearly saying that he's making no moral consideration about slaughtering harmless women and children. He is exclusively thinking about how to be most effective as a machine gunner, a helicopter machine gunner, and racking up a high body count. So if you talk to a leftist, that's how they think all Americans perform at all times. We're just walking around in Iraq. We see a child and we're like, lol, probably an insurgent. Bang, 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 bang. See a...
That might be how they will talk. I will hear people talk about it that way, but it's usually sort of glib. It's usually a bit tongue in cheek, and it's usually to piss off someone like Connor. That's usually the case. I don't think. Okay, it's people say, is that not true, guys? It's like they're being a bit glib about it. I don't think people literally think that's just how it goes. They don't just. It's not like literally every U.S. Marine is just walking around doming every kid they think they have even the remotest pretext to fucking shoot. I understand that is like the joke presentation of the US military. I don't think people generally believe that is literally what's happening. But okay, we'll keep going. Maybe that's not even Connor's point. We'll see.
A woman carrying her groceries, and we're like, lol, she's probably an insurgent. Bang, 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 bang. But that's not what the stats bear out at all. Nor is that the experience of most people who have served in American armed forces. If you want to check out something that actually shows how fucked up the invasion was, while also still trying to work with rules of engagement and minimizing civilian casualties, you must watch the HBO series Generation Kill, okay? Because within the series Generation Kill, there are straight up firefights. Asymmetric insurgent forces are engaging American forces, and armed combatants shoot at American armed combatants, and they kill each other, and the Americans disproportionately slaughter the combatants due to superior training and technology. Okay? But also there are situations, for instance, like they expect that they've taken fire from a certain house, right? Somebody with an AK-47 popped out of that house. They shot at the trucks. Well, that was 3 hours ago, and an officer wanting to get a medal called in an airstrike on the house, and immediately outside the house is a family playing, and they get wiped out by the bomb. Like, family of 5 just fucking annihilated by a coalition airstrike. Then there's situations where vehicles are approaching the military convoy. I know I'm long-winded. I promise I'll try to wrap it up momentarily. But basically there are situations where vehicles are approaching American armed forces, and it's difficult to ascertain whether or not they're enemies or insurgents or whether or not they're civilians. And then the Americans open up and they kill civilians. That's what happened. So, once again, this whole like narrative that Americans who need college money just become bloodthirsty fucking freaks and then run around in the Middle East and North Africa slaughtering men, women, and children out of an unslakable bloodlust is not borne out by statistics, and it's not borne out by history. Moving on.
Realize that was wrong.
I mean, I feel like it's like a glib, hyperbolic presentation that he's fighting. Like he's like fighting the straw man, you know? Yeah, that's not. I don't think literally every U.S. Marine is this bloodthirsty psychopath. Stop, guys! Stop fucking around.
Welcome here. You come back from Iraq and you fucking talk about how this was actually awesome and I hate Islam. Then you didn't learn anything. You're goddamn cattle. You're sending
guys. The Marines aren't all angry, demonic, evil rapists. Dude.
People like you to be in a similar predicament to yourself. Whatever, bitch. I'll start live
Just
streaming
most
on
of
YouTube
them.
tomorrow. Suck my dick. No, you're getting clipped. By who? The people that have been literally begging for American sons and daughters to go and die in Iran for the last 2 weeks? By people who keep going, yeah, based. No, we got to give more money to Israel. Those people?
I'm sorry. This is just an appropriate energy to have right now. I'm sorry. It just is. This is the appropriate level of energy to have for someone coming into your chat saying, I was in Iraq, Islam, Iran, you know, Operation W. This is the appropriate energy to bring to that person.
People who are going to turn around.
So this is going to be a key point. I wonder if Connor engages with this segment. I haven't seen any of this yet. This is a key point. Hassan is saying this shit, not just in general, but specifically to a chatter who claims to be an Iraq war vet, who says they hate Islam and that the Iran operation is awesome. The Iran war is awesome.
And now act as though they give a shit about veterans. The same people like Asmongold who celebrated when that Navy SEAL with his uniform had his arm broken. Really? That's what we're doing? If Twitch can apply this double standard when one veteran is getting their arm broken by an American congressperson for opposing America waging Israel.
You guys be good faith. So this is just retarded. I don't even know why I respond to bandit comments, but you know. Can you guys be good faith and imagine a world where America and Israel didn't exist? Yeah, America would be a colony, and they'd have a couple of MPs, and they'd keep fucking quiet, and they'd be happy about it, and the whole world would be a better place.
Israel's wars. When Twitch doesn't ban Asmongold for laughing at that and saying, yeah, based, and that he deserved it, when Twitch literally doesn't say a single damn thing about that, but then turns around and tries to ban me for this platform, I will never come back here. Y'all are a bunch of dumb too for being like, oh, you're gonna get clipped.
I know, Frugals. I
guys
know.
on
Twitch when they didn't even do anything yet. Yeah, but I honestly wonder. Like, I feel like he did risk a ban with this clip a little bit. I honestly wonder whether that gave him a bit more protection, whether going off like that and bringing up the double standard at the time almost gives him a bit of a buffer, you know? Because they do just hit Hassan now. They do hit him. They'll only hit him for like a day. It's not like he's getting like big bans. But they do just hit him now, just to be like, look, we're doing something. We're doing something.
A motherfucker doesn't even realize his own lived experiences should have taught him a very valuable lesson.
This was uploaded on March 20th. The main reason why I'm bringing it up is because I just watched it and I thought it was a decent launch pad for talking about American geopolitical position on the world stage.
Well, yeah, we had this discussion last night about whether veterans should be a protected class, and it makes total sense for like a lot of things, especially when, like we said, when you had the draft, like you didn't want, like it could cause problems in society if you could turn like huge swathes of the population down based on veteran status for jobs and shit like that. So there are reasons to have it as a protected class, but it certainly shouldn't be treated the same as being like black. You know, you chose to do it and got a lot of benefits from it.
No way. Horse God says no one understands the stress and anxiety caused by deploying to Iraq on end and having to visit the same Burger King as your only option outside the DFAC. Dude, so Al-Assad Air Base Burger King.
Dude, this is literally the most American shit in the world. Dude, the worst part about being deployed to a foreign country to shoot a bunch of brown kids is the fact that all you've got to eat is Burger King. There's only a fucking Burger King. No McDonald's, no nothing. But I can't do it, man. I can't do it. Some of this I'm just gonna skip through, okay?
I'm trying to think of like another
Burger King war
equivalent.
stories. Holy shit!
But let's say like you're angry that you got a speeding ticket from a cop, and then you go to the DMV and you're like, I can't believe you gave me a ticket. You're a fucking piece of shit pig. All you do is you oppress, you just oppress Americans by giving them seatbelt tickets. You should kill yourself. And then the DMV worker is like, what the fuck did I do to you? You can be a baby killer poke. Yeah, I mean, like if you're like a drone pilot, the intel guy who actually makes kill packets, or there are high-speed, low-drag pogues. But I would say even among, so let's say that only 20% or 10% of them were were infantry or people who did infantry stuff. Then, and I'm pretty sure it's only like 1% of the armed forces are infantry. But let's say that like combat arms, right? Let's only say that like 5 to 10% of the military is combat arms. Then even amongst the pogues who are making up the remaining 90% of armed forces, maybe 5% of them,
like in Star Wars,
or 10% of them have cool jobs. So yeah, once again, it's like getting from a ticket from a cop and then yelling at the person who works at the DMV, So anyways, moving on.
It was a job that you picked. So nothing really controversial about that clip, in my opinion. I understand some people may disagree. I know some Yankoids may disagree, but not really anything controversial or contestable about that clip. I think that's totally reasonable. I think some dickhead fucking Iraq veteran. Jesus Christ, my camera's frozen. Some dickhead fucking Iraq veteran coming into chat, bragging about what they did, crying about fucking Islam, talking about how Islam's this big danger, and supporting the Iran Operation Epic Fury is deranged and retarded, and that person deserves to have very rude things said to them, tailored to them, because they are a disgusting, low-life, degenerate waste of space who probably voted for some of the most disgusting shit to happen in the modern world. So totally reasonable from Hassan there, in my opinion.
See, and I think you can, sorry for interrupting, but I think you can only carry this energy if you assume that 80 to 99% of people are like bloodthirsty infantrymen who love slaughtering.
Okay, retarded. Not true. Is he even following what's happening here? Or is he just talking about the regretting thing? Regretting going out there? Like, so what is happening here is someone's coming to Hassan's chat, said, fuck Islam, I love a war in Iran, I'm an Iraq war vet. That's TLDR what they said. And Hassan's gone off at them, saying, damn, you didn't learn shit out there. Fuck you, retard. Why are you supporting this shit? Fuck vets who don't regret going out and admit that that shit sucks. That's what Hassan says. I don't think any of that requires you thinking that all Marines are just like bloodthirsty psychos. That's not required.
Brown people for shits and giggles. I think that's the only way that you
can say the $2. Thank you.
What Kuihman just said and have it be logical. But anyways, moving on.
Opinion, in my humble opinion. And the other thing, key thing here, is it was targeted to that person. Hassan did not say stuff about all veterans. Hassan did not say he hates all veterans. Hassan said he hates veterans who support other people getting put into the same awful situations, doing horrible, fucked up, illegal shit as they did. If you don't come away from Iraq thinking that was bad, that shouldn't happen again, then fuck you. Then fuck you. That's not all veterans. That's a set of people who did a set of actions and have a set of beliefs. It's not just all veterans. It's not just all veterans. It's fucking retarded to pretend it is. So let's take a look. What sort of fucking retard? What sort of absolute fucking idiot? Zero reading comprehension, zero critical thought, moron, subhuman fucking fat moron would take that to be about all veterans? I wonder. Nicholas Diorio, come on down. 3:17 is the timestamp we want here.
Already been community noted, but big new Hassan clip dropping
Painful.
right now. Enjoy it.
15 years out from Iraq, eat my balls. Do you even have your balls remaining, or did a fucking IED explode them for you, dumbass? Shut the fuck up talking about Islam. You are an infinitely bigger terrorist than any random Muslim ever could be, dumbass.
Okay. Sorry, there's another detail that needs to be
Beast
pointed
mode.
out. Random Muslim, sure. There's what, like 2 billion Muslims on the planet? So the amount of jihadist terrorists is probably less than, like, I don't know, 1 million, 5 million. So if you compare the average American military member who might have indirectly supported military operations and or participated in grunt operations, then you could say that the American military member, by being a part of the American military, engaged in more violence, not terrorism. I think there's a distinction here that I would actually reinforce, than an average Muslim. But, like I cited to you earlier in the Iraq Body Count Project, 80 to 90% of casualties in the Iraq conflict were perpetuated, by jihadist militias. So, to pretend that this is what frustrates me. I know somebody said this earlier. They were like, oh, well, since leftists think systemically, even though the jihadist terrorists perpetuated violence, they actually assign the invasion as the cause. Therefore, all the violence that jihadist terrorists engage in is at America's feet. But I'll tell you why I think that's silly.
That's like a super reductive version of that argument. Again, I feel like Connor is fighting a straw man there. That is like a super reductive version of that argument. To say it's all at their feet is just obviously untrue. But it was a, ostensibly illegal war conducted based on bad intelligence that key people knew was bad, right? It was poorly justified. It's not as crazy and illegal and just baseless as, Trump stuff, but it was still not legit,
Law enforcement, arguably from a systemic perspective, could be argued to oppress black people in the United States. But the homicides committed by black criminals are their own crimes and crosses to bear, spiritually, morally, criminally, etc. Now, it's descriptively true
Watch us drive.
that if law enforcement approached law enforcement and social conditions a little bit differently, a little bit more of a carrot and a stick approach than just a stick approach, then maybe we could find some kind of balance between carrot and stick that substantially reduces American homicides. And, the government should explore the nuances of that policy. However, in my opinion, that's not what lefties are alluding to. They're effectively making the same argument that because American law enforcement oppresses black people.
You're more right than Connor, who's a veteran, embarrassingly, but you're still wrong as hell. Okay. Like, all American feds and veterans are just gonna be like, oh, actually, no, here's this minor detail you're getting wrong, and that means you don't understand any of it. It's like, okay, sure, man. No one cares. None of this shit that hard, bruh. Okay, I'm smart as hell. I can figure this shit out. I don't need to know about the military.
Every homicide committed in America is actually the systemic responsibility of law enforcement. And not only is that an incredibly unnuanced, borderline fucking dumb fuck systemic analysis that is horrifically unnuanced, but additionally, it does nothing for the people involved within perpetuating the system. So, once again, I submit to you the following, that this is dog shit, ahistorical, psychologically stupid, statistically wrong perspective. And yet, what I'm additionally trying to communicate to you is that I think Kuihman is probably above average intelligence. But just because he's above average intelligence doesn't mean that he hasn't bought into a dumb fuck narrative that's popular.
Okay, I don't understand what narrative it bought into. I do not believe that literally all US military veterans are psychopathic child killers. That's a glib, tongue-in-cheek presentation because that's mainly employed for rhetorical purposes because they believe that the war itself was immoral and illegal. I just don't think that's something that people broadly think.
Most people of above average intelligence. And people of above average intelligence,
I
let's say
can't put on my
100 to
cam because my hair's all fucking frizzy, dude. I can't put on my cam.
110 IQ.
I'm at a point now where if my hair doesn't dry right, or at least within an acceptable window, it's not happening.
Are incredibly wrong about shit all the fucking time.
I've seen my hair, like, good on good days now, and then I see old videos where my hair's on bad days. I'm like, I can never let that happen again. We have to get this perfect.
Now, 80 IQ people might be wrong about more things more of the time.
Exactly. I was getting shit from Chud for this. This guy wears a hat now. This guy literally wears a hat every day now. Indoors. This guy is like on some Tim Pool shit. And he's like talking about me not getting on camera. It's crazy.
But 100 to 110 IQ people do think they're smarter than they actually are. Do think that they're more knowledgeable than they actually are. Do think that they're more worldly than they actually are. And so therefore, they buy into incredibly dumb fucking narratives. Okay. Now, I did get a super chat. Real Serious for 100 Argentinian peso says, it's logical if you view the U.S. as equal to Nazis, essentially. We would probably be okay with...
Yeah, hat plus Finny. Literally the most cucked combo to ever exist. You take him Finny, and you wear in a hat to hide your hairline. One or the other, buddy. One or the other.
Talking about the Wehrmacht Nazis this way due to the actions of the SS. Sure, but real serious, let's say that Germany invaded Poland, okay? And rather than 90% of the civilian casualties being Germany slaughtering Jews and Poles, it was instead Germans killed 10% of the population because they were engaged in counterinsurgent warfare. And then 90% of the casualties caused in the Polish Civil War would be two factions fighting over the country. Like maybe like a pro-Russian faction and a pro-German faction, right? And I don't even think that's true because even the quote-unquote pro-German faction in this analogy doesn't work because, once again, Iraqi state forces that served alongside the coalition were maybe 10 to 20% of the casualties. So this would more be like like the Germans are in control of Germany. There's a Polish nationalist faction and a pro-Russian faction, and they go to the Civil War, and 90% of the casualties are a result of that conflict. So, yes, Germany invading was the trigger of the Civil War, but the perpetuators of the violence are actually the factions fighting for the future of the country. So, okay. The argument would be that the decision to go into Iraq was the cause. Police are needed in your own country. Military invasion of Iraq wasn't needed. Well, I mean, you say that. But for instance, like if we go to World War II with the occupation of like Nazi Germany or whatever, I don't think you would be arguing that like there's never a case ever to invade a foreign nation and impose martial law, right? So just because like Iraq specifically was a unjust invasion.
Yeah, for real. Chud wearing a hat and hoodie indoors all summer, bruh. It smells fucking terrible in there.
Doesn't mean that you just go, oh, therefore we can forget any kind of nuance about the perpetuators of violence. I think that's very silly. The Polish casualty rate without Jews was pretty low by comparison. Well, Hans Mayer, my German friend.
Shit pisses me off.
No, I can't even make that joke. I was going to make a joke that maybe the Nazis weren't that bad, but I'll skip that one. That one was a little spicy. Alley Cat says, and if the chatter was calling all Islamist terrorists and cheering on the Iran war, well, Alley Cat, this is something that I would like to express that I feel like needs a high degree of nuance. Muslims are people who believe in God, the last day, that Muhammad is, peace be upon him, is the prophet, and they believe in good 5 times a day. Or like,
back to talking about me.
Islamism, the attempt.
His coverage is so
fucking way possible.
Bitch up. Go enjoy your fucking
It's funny that he throws the word terrorist around when he cries like a bitch that it's been used against him.
PTSD asshole. Fuck you.
Dude, they were saying terrorists in their chat messages. He was saying, who's the terrorist? You're the terrorist. You're in Iraq. You fucking idiot. He's just got no idea what's going on. He's got no. This guy's talking about Islamic terrorism. That's why Hassan's bringing up terrorism. You fucking idiot, dude. His coverage is so bad.
Imagine
Oh, the Frogan line.
fucking PTSD asshole. Fuck you. Imagine having the audacity to fucking be like,
Yeah, exactly. The
I
chat
went
said
to
it
Iraq.
first.
I went to
So
Iraq,
fucking stupid, dude.
and it's actually Islam that's the biggest danger. You're
One of my favorite conservatarian chippers gifted a membership. Really?
and a danger to yourself, douchebag. Lol, that's getting clipped, Lamont. I don't give a fuck, dude. Shut the fuck up. If you go to Iraq and you learn that lesson, you realize that was wrong.
The takeaway for this is that he just hates veterans. That's the problem. Because you can criticize what he said and fight him on the actual talking point. But
Guys, he just hates veterans. That's why he says there are plenty of veterans he's totally fine with. That's why he's supporting a veteran for office right now. That's why he's supporting an ex-Blackwater mercenary who defended Abu Ghraib prison in Iraq, one of the most famous places for human rights abuses in the entirety of the Iraq campaign, that Graham Plattner defended as a mercenary guard there at the place, patrolling, stopping people breaking out or breaking in. And Hassan supports him for office. But he hates vets, guys. He hates all veterans. It's totally not about the beliefs they hold, guys. It's about their veteran status. We can make this make sense somehow, guys, if we just push the square peg in that round hole hard enough.
what he's saying is, fuck you, I hope you get PTSD. You're a danger to your family. That's not applicable
Connor
to
may be retarded at times, but he is Mensa compared to Diorio. That's just true.
chatter, because he doesn't know anything about the chatter.
Yes, he does. He knows the chatter is an Iraq war vet who does not regret his service and is saying deranged shit about Islam. That's what he knows. He knows this.
The British twink is Kuihman. He's a Twitch and YouTube political commentary YouTuber. And what I mean by that is that Kuihman covers Twitch and YouTube politics, drama. So sometimes he'll get into the substance of geopolitical events, current events, and news. But most of the time, he's there to talk shit about the creators.
This is just some mentally unstable, retarded vet with a bunch of stupid, degenerate opinions that a bunch of Yankoid degenerates have. And Yankoid degenerates... Wow, I was leaning in hard at this point, wasn't I? I was really leaning in. I was really trying to get clipped on Twitter here. Are often dangerous to their family on their own because they love owning guns and having mental disabilities that they don't get addressed for their entire fucking life. But American Marines are another level because they have extra levels of disability and love eating crayons.
Oh. Listen, man, if he's being descriptive, he's being very mean. But is he wrong, though?
W. Connor. And love eating crayons.
Oh.
That's awesome.
Listen, man, if he's being descriptive, he's being very mean. But is he wrong, though? Now, hold on. Okay, hold on. Okay, hold on a second, okay? Let's just treat this hypothetically, okay?
Okay.
If someone is a civilian who does not know anything about weapons and does not own any firearms, they are descriptively less of a threat than somebody who does know about weapons and firearms. Then somebody who knows about weapons and firearms is obviously a bigger threat than the former category. But somebody who has post-traumatic stress disorder is somebody who is a greater threat psychologically, or suicidal ideations or homicidal ideations, right?
True.
Then those are people who are more dangerous than just people who know about weapons. And then somebody who has suicidal or homicidal ideations, a diagnosable mental health disorder, and owns firearms is clearly a greater risk than somebody who doesn't know anything about weapons at all, right? Now, what I don't like, or I'll descriptively, this is true. What I don't like, though, about this true description, quote unquote, is that the moral content of that description matters. So, for instance, let's say that...
Okay. I'm not going to try and preempt what he says too hard, but my immediate feeling is, like, this is obviously inflammatory, deliberately, and it's purposely aimed at the idea of people who do nothing to remedy that potential threat, right? So I feel like what Connor's about to say is, oh, well, the moral content is that these people have been through a lot and they serve the country. So I'm not going to preempt too hard, but I feel like that's roughly.
You have a homicidal ideation about somebody who cuts you off in traffic. I'm clearly going to judge the homicidal ideation of somebody cutting you off in traffic rather than you homicidally fantasizing about slaughtering kittens, right? The moral concept of the homicidal ideation clearly matters. And then similarly, I would say that the suicidal ideation, the severity should be calculated. So for instance, let's say I'm an alcoholic working my working class job, and then I wake up and I'm just like, holy shit, I fucking hate my job. It would be easier to swallow my fucking gun than it would be to go to my shift. But that's more of like a comedic thought that passes within a half second, and then I get up.
Thank you for the $2. Thank you.
Up and I go to work, right? That is different than somebody who has constant negative self-talk that believes that they are a terrible person who should no longer exist, and they are moments away from swallowing a bottle of pills or eating a gun, right? The reason why I bring this up is I feel like all of this nuance is lost when you just go, lol, veterans beat the shit out of their families. They're all a step away from homicide or suicide.
Yeah, no. So that's retarded. It's like he is just like repeatedly fighting the straw man. It's like and I understand doing that when people are being, inflammatory. I understand it's easy to fall into doing that when people are being deliberately inflammatory and hyperbolic. But you are literally just fighting the straw man. No one is saying that all veterans are like this. It's a specific, obviously inflammatory comment aimed at people who do nothing to remedy that or introspect or reconsider what they did. That's like what it's about.
Right. And so once again, if you were to ask me, do I think the average liberal or progressive is smarter than the average conservative? I might say yes, but not by much. And oftentimes they will repeat talking points that are terribly unnuanced and
Thank you for the $4.99 Jim Roy with the Shiba Inu training. Huge appreciated. Thank you so much.
Fucking ass. Okay? Yeah. Alec
Your
says,
super sticker wasn't described. Oh, it was a Shiba Inu pulling his cheeks with hearts appearing.
Cool. I don't really know my grandpa or family story still more than above. My grandpa never talked about it. He was on his own deathbed. I literally had no idea I was in high school. Huh. Interesting. Do you think someone has killed for war in the past is more likely to act out on an ideation? Absolutely, Missy. Descriptively, yes. Because I think that, and by the way, the content of who deserves homicide is clearly like, a thing. But the way that military veterans themselves, including those who have killed and those who haven't killed, they say, like, they kind of analogize it to, losing your virginity. So effectively, if you get shot at, that's like getting a hand job. If you shoot at somebody else, that's like oral. And if you kill someone and you know that you killed someone, that's like losing your virginity. So in that case, using that metaphorical basis, if you're basically said, if somebody has sex, are they more likely to have sex in the future? My answer is unreservedly yes. But I think what's implied here is, since that was an unjust homicide because it was a part of an unjust war, is someone who killed someone during wartime more likely to commit murder in the future because they've broken the seal of homicide in the moral and social breaks around homicide? I think that could be descriptively true, but I also think pretending that all veterans are like one bad day away from murder is obviously cope. And it vilifies the reason why veterans are a protected category is
I am deliberately vilifying a type of veteran there. Yes, and it's not a 100% accurate summary of every veteran or even the average veteran. It's a hyperbolic, glib statement about a type of veteran with a certain perspective.
Is because of the vilification of the category along these lines. Yeah, Caramel Cold Brew says, I've had sex tons of times. I swear. Break that down, please. What do you want me to break down further? When you join the military, particularly the Marine Corps, which is a very violent institution, proximity to homicide actually determines how people view you. If you've committed homicide in the name of American service, then you are viewed as like the ultimate veteran. Whereas if you haven't committed homicide in the name of the Republic, then you're kind of viewed as like, I don't want to say a poser, but you're viewed as somebody who has not lost their violence virginity. The gulf in discipline also exists. True, Jagan. Not only is that true, that's a wildly important point. If you showed me the correlates for murder, I think that a poor working class kid from the wrong side of town has an infinitely higher chance of committing homicide than a military veteran. Like I'm sure we could do the fucking math on it between veterans committing murders inside the United States and folks who are raised in poor communities committing homicides. And I guarantee you that like poverty, desperation, and proximity to drug gangs are infinitely higher predictors of violent crime than veteran status. So, yeah. Casper says, ew, still? In reference to what? Casper. As a gray name, I'm
Connor, just say blacks. Okay, Connor, you're among friends. Just say blacks.
As to what you are not finding pleasant.
And they're all raped as children, too. And then they grow up and they do crazy shit in other people's countries and they get mentally ill.
See, hold up. I think this is funny, but did Kuihman just say like Marines like all eat
crayons, get raped as kids,
and they were raped as kids,
Yep.
which is why they go to fucking foreign countries in order to
Yep.
rape and murder other people?
Yep.
Hold on, let's just see how
Yes.
fucking wild this take is.
American Marines are another level because they have extra levels of disability and love eating crayons. And they're all raped as children too. Did this get clipped? Did this get clipped? Did this hit? Did this get clipped? I forget. And then they grow up and they do crazy shit in other people's countries and they get mentally ill and they don't get that addressed. And they go home to their government that doesn't give a fuck about them, lets them rot on the street and beat the fuck out of their wife, if they still have one, who they probably cheated on them and left them.
You said ew, still you're doing content.
Can't remember singing that one. Rot on the street and beat the fuck out of their wife, if they still have one, who they probably cheated on them and left them.
You said ew, still you're doing content in general. Well, guess what? If you don't like it, you don't have to be here. I'll help you with that. Bye forever. Everybody wave goodbye to Casper. Bye, Casper. So, Connor, on your sex analogy, have you ever lost your virginity? No, I haven't. The only shot I ever fired in anger was, you're not supposed to do warning shots as a cop, and you're not supposed to do, well, actually, you do warning shots as a military member. So the only warning shot, no, I haven't. Hey, to Casper. Bye, Casper. So, Connor, on your sex analogy, have you ever lost your virginity? No, I haven't.
So Connor's saying he's never killed someone. He's never killed someone.
The only shot I ever fired in anger was, you're not supposed to do warning shots.
Connor sucks now. Connor sucks. This guy sucks now. What? He's never killed anyone. This guy sucks now.
A cop, and you're not supposed to do, well, actually, you do warning shots as a military member. So the only warning shot I ever fired in anger was against an adolescent black bear. And I didn't.
Dude. That was close. That was close. Yeah, the only shot I've ever fired in anger was an adolescent black bear.
Not supposed to do, well, actually, you do warning shots as a military member.
That's fake.
So the only warning shot I ever fired in anger
foaming at
was
the mouth
against an adolescent black bear. And I didn't shoot it. I did a warning shot and it ran away, which makes me sad. Because it ultimately, I didn't kill it, but the bear ultimately did get euthanized because it kept like breaking into people's homes. It was kind of sad. So that kind of made me sad. But that's the only shot I've fired in anger. Now, so but I have been in dangerous situations where, gunfire was present. I was present at somebody getting a homicide. Somebody was murdered in front of me, that kind of thing. So and then I've also cleared a ton of rooms, and I've also like arrested really, 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 really bad people and pointed my guns at them. So what I would say is effectively, I'm like in my opinion, I'm like a violence third baser. Like I got up to everything except for committing homicide, and I did everything except for losing my violence virginity. So, wow, cops firing at black guys. It was a bear. It was a black bear. And it was a warning shot. I didn't do a warning shot because it was black. What the fuck?
That's cap.
Warning shot. The bear
Just stop the cap, Connor.
is
Stop the cap.
bear, a white bear. They're the size. And
Okay, he looks at a bear tangent. Bear tangent.
But to be clear,
I knew some tangent shit was
if
gapping
a brown
there,
bear or actually shoot the bear, the black bears are actually the kindest.
beat the fuck out of her while they were serving. But if they go back to a wife, they go back to her and beat the fuck out of her, and then they have guns at home still, and then they end up using them on their family or themselves. That's what Hassan's pulling on here, is the fact that this guy is some lead-brained, right-wing, Yankoid degenerate who went to Iraq. That's what he's drawing on here, and that's enough to know that they're an elevated risk to their family.
That's applicable is to, like, a stereotype on actual veterans who've seen conflict. Like, it's just a slap in the face to people who had nothing to do with this conversation. So yeah, I understand.
Because
why they
isn't
violates
listening.
the policy.
Wrong. You're welcome here. You come back from Iraq and you fucking talk about how this was actually awesome and I fucking hate it.
Like the American sniper who was killed by a deranged Yankoid vet. Very true. And it was his own fault too. Never let them forget that, by the way. Their big war hero, Chris Kyle, got himself killed by his degenerate friend because he's a degenerate fucking moron Yankoid who thinks guns fix everything. So he took his degenerate Yankoid vet friend to a shooting range who had a PTSD meltdown and then shot him and everyone else, or the instructor.
So I think the glee with which Kuihman delivers this is a little disconcerting, but that's okay. Chris Kyle was probably, he's the legend. He's American Sniper. Fucking, he had a movie about him and he wrote a book and all that kind of stuff. I'll tell you straight up, I think the legend nickname is sarcastic. I truly think it's sarcastic. So the legend was his nickname, and I think it's because he literally made shit up. So just as an example, before I malign a dead veteran who did have a Silver Star, by the way, so he did deploy. Let's delineate what Chris Kyle actually did real quick. He joined the Navy SEALs.
Okay, but then look, the reason why it's so fun to shit talk Chris Kyle is because whether you think the legend nickname was sarcastic or not, there are a bunch of people who don't. There are a bunch of people who like actually think Chris Kyle was like fucking awesome and like believe like everything he fucking said. You know, there is a kind of cult of personality around Chris Kyle. That's why it's so fun to be so callous in discussing him.
He passed BUD/S, which is a notoriously hard school. I think it has like an 80 or 90% dropout.
Yeah, true. Maybe that's like, a decade ago. But
right. He served for multiple years. He had multiple combat deployments. He went to sniper school, and he was allegedly an efficient sniper. Now, here's the thing, though. His book reads like he took every single cool story from everybody he ever heard, and he put it into a single book as if he was the one who had done it. That's how the book reads. Because when I talk to infantry veterans with multiple combat deployments, they will normally have 3 to 10 truly insane, surreal stories that beggar belief. Whereas Chris Kyle had like 50, and they all happened back to 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 back, right? And then I will take the criticism that is underneath what Kuihman is being cruel about, which is that Chris Kyle and another Navy SEAL vet bro, they took out other veterans who were suffering like separation disorder and anxiety and PTSD, and they took them shooting. And I think that's okay. It's a little scary. It's a little weird because of what happened. So there are some people who have separation anxiety from service. Okay. There are some people who have PTSD, where giving them a gun and shooting with them is actually like, it's a refamiliarization strategy. They get refamiliarized with the thing that is proximate to their trauma, but because shooting at a marksmanship range is not the same as active combat, that can actually kind of like decompress them back into society. However, there can be people who are so fundamentally broken by the experience of violence that you...
That sounds like the sort of thing that you do with like trained, you know, psychiatric professionals. Not the sort of thing that you just take a group of vets out to go do. I can imagine there being some exposure therapy that helps in that way. This idea of refamiliarization, I can understand. I can totally see that. Sounds like the sort of thing for a psychiatrist to do, not Chris Kyle. Maybe try blanks the first few times. For real.
They should never have a gun ever again. And so they took a Marine.
Maybe start with airsoft.
By the way, killed a Navy SEAL. Not proud of that, but I do think it's ironic. And so they took a Marine shooting and they were like, hey, I think this guy's off. So just like keep an eye on him. And then he gunned them both down. He gunned down 2 Navy SEALs. So maybe we don't take veterans who have documented PTSD to the shooting range until we determine whether or not they're
okay. So Connor does agree. Maybe blanks or airsoft first few times.
He also had a full sleeve tattoo of crusaders killing Muslims during the Crusades. These people exist.
Yeah, I just feel like Connor's just wrong if he's acting like there's not a bunch of people who legit full-blown believe the Chris Kyle shit.
On the verge of homicide, or if this is like a positive refamiliarization strategy. You know what I'm saying? Maybe take them go-karting. Maybe take them to ride some bumper cars. You know, something like that. Maybe take them laser tagging. Real serious for 100 Argentinian pesos. Ask anyone, has a white bear ever broken into your home, stolen your food, killed or harmed your family? Black and brown bears, however, See, weirdly enough, because of not political, but because of demographic proximity, brown and black bears do break into people's homes and steal their food. And white bears do hang out at the North Pole and probably only kill people that come up to the North Pole. Ha.
You know, I haven't Kobe limit experience, but it certainly seems worse for America. It's certainly American vets certainly seem worse. I'm not going to lie.
Okay. Contending with this, I actually agree with Kuihman in reference to there are people who LARP about military shit, and they're more crazy than the veterans themselves. And most veterans tend to be center right. And the reason why they tend to be center right.
Wait, what are they actually saying there in full? Who, in the UK, who veer towards right or straight up Nazi shit. Like I've told that story.
America waging Israel's war.
That's the thing, dude. I have met plenty of like military fetishists that veer towards far right or straight up Nazi shit. Like I've told that story about that guy getting that SS book in my old workplace. I've met plenty of military fetishists in the UK who veer towards being like kind of, you know, but I've never met an actual UK vet who veered towards that sort of stuff. They're always usually pretty, you know, at least center right. You know, they're usually kind of like Tory-ish. You know, I haven't met a whole bunch of super far right vets. Now, could be limited experience, but it certainly seems worse for America. It's certainly American vets certainly seem worse. I'm not going to lie.
Okay. Contending with this, I actually agree with Kuihman in reference to there are people who LARP about military shit, and they're more crazy than the veterans themselves. And most veterans tend to be center right. And the reason why they tend to be center right is because they literally have to swear an oath to the Constitution of the United States, and they have to be willing to kill and die for the Republic of the United States. So that typically enforces a constitutional conservative culture in the military. But additionally, oftentimes in the military, you're serving with black, Hispanics, Jews, not that many Jews, but there's still some Jews. Blacks, Hispanic, Jews, Caribbeans, fucking Eurasians, Asians, fucking name a kind of person. And I probably served with them in the United States military. because it is oftentimes a easier way for immigrants to achieve citizenship, or for a citizen who has immigrant family to effectively get preferential treatment in trying to naturalize their family. So, I think that's just true, that the military tends to be center-right, but not super racist. Now, that being said, there are 100% exceptions. There are gangs that survive boot camp, and they basically use the military as a training tool in order to enhance their lethality. There are Nazi gangs, and there are Crips and Blood cliques that survive boot camp, and as a result, they operate as a criminal element within the military. But here's the thing. The second that they are discovered, they are fucked to the longest, dickest extent of the law possible. And I think that the bigger branches, like I think the Air Force doesn't deal with that as much because they're probably the most progressive of the branches. I think the Navy doesn't deal with that as much because of the close proximity of all of their employees living in cramped quarters on either naval bases or on ships. I think the Marine Corps doesn't deal with that as much because it's a very small institution. It's actually like, I think it's one of the smallest branches. I think we had like 200,000 Marines at any given point. But with the United States Army, I think that since they don't drill as hard as the Marines or the other branches, and once you're out of boot camp, you're treated as a more independent operative, I think gang activity is more common in the United States Army than it is anywhere else. So.
When Twitch doesn't...
Now, I have had people, I've known about vets, I've had like mutual friends with and stuff like that, who I've heard stories about doing like the whole, you know, sort of bragging about doing morally grey, crazy shit in Iraq or Afghanistan. I have heard that through other people, but I've never heard the actual beliefs stated. I've never heard, you know, quite as explicit.
Fucking...
Yeah, somebody says, Descartes says, Connor, we've trained something like an estimated 30 to 40% of Sinaloa enforcers. Sure. But what I would point out there is that Mexicans. So there are Mexicans and Mexican immigrants who will come and join the United States military. They will get training to become more lethal, and then they will go join the cartel or work for the cartel. But what ends up happening with that, in my opinion, is the Sinaloa, like how many members are in the Sinaloa cartel? I spelled it wrong.
Okay.
100%. That the United States military probably trained 200 cartel members over the past 2 decades. I don't doubt it for a fucking second.
Ban Asmongold for laughing at that and saying, yeah, based.
Yeah, he just immediately pivoted from being angry to like naming every single person who can have also violated a policy or making a hypocrisy hunt. He realizes that his thing is like, he's mad at somebody, he goes after an entire group of people, obvious TOS violation. But again, like, if somebody said, hey, I have a problem with black people, and then started jumping into crime rates, that would be exactly the same thing as what he just did.
Bro, what do you mean we fought like 2 wars? We Gulf War, Korean War, Falklands, Iraq, Afghanistan, Kosovo. We've been there with like all the NATO and US shit, as well as our own shit.
When Twitch literally doesn't...
Israel made him break TOS. That's true.
Say a single damn thing about that, but then turns around and tries to ban me for this shit. Fuck this platform. I will never fucking come back here. Y'all are a bunch of dumb fucking bitches too for being like, oh, you're gonna get clipped.
It's a fair point. No, he's on the back foot. He's just flailing. This isn't like a point that he's considered. He's throwing this out there because he realized, well, he thinks he's gonna get banned. I don't think that. Oh, here's the silence. Wait for it. He's gonna
dumb motherfucker.
Yep.
Doesn't even realize his own lived experiences should have taught him a very valuable lesson.
Really? What have your lived experiences taught you? What experience do you have? Hassan violated Twitch's hateful conduct and harassment policy. Veteran status is explicitly considered a protected characteristic. Content or behavior that attacks, harasses, and promotes.
Wow, Nick really drops facts in his reactions, doesn't he?
It doesn't mean that you're smart, but you could be a Hassan Piker viewer or whatever. I don't know. It was just like a very pointed attack. No, sorry, not a very pointed. It was a very broad attack directly at veterans. Oh, as for
it was a very pointed attack.
This is the most hypocritical take ever. Literally ever. I've never.
Okay. So yeah, totally retarded coverage there. We've got another banger though, guys. Okay, just to throw in here, another banger reaction to this song clip.
The audacity.
A fan favorite.
There's no way he actually said that, right? Wow. 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 This one's going to follow him for a while, you guys. That is a wild thing to say. That is a crazy thing to say. One of my best friends died from a fucking ID. Like, that is a wild thing to say, man.
Oh man, shut the fuck up talking about Islam. You are an infinitely bigger terrorist than any random Muslim ever could be, dumbass. Shut your bitch ass up. Go enjoy your fucking PTSD, asshole. Fuck you. Imagine.
Oh no, I bet you anything he knew he fucked up when he said that. That's a crazy thing to say. That's a crazy thing to say.
That went hard.
That's kind of crazy, man. I'll bet you anything. A lot of politicians are gonna hesitate to collaborate with him now. I don't know. It's just from a practical perspective, not even setting aside the morality of it, but just practically, if he's obviously looking to expand his reach and make connections and and collaborate with politicians, and he's been doing that more lately. But saying stuff like that shit.
Yeah,
will
terribly
make him
aged
so
comment
toxic.
from Hutch there. Terribly aged read.
I can't believe he said that. I cannot believe he said that.
Oh my god, I can't believe he said that. Oh my god.
I'm having difficulty processing that he said that.
Imagine having the audacity to fucking be like, yeah, I went to Iraq, and it's actually Islam that's the biggest danger. You're the danger, idiot. You're a danger to your family.
What the fuck?
Paste. W.
What the fuck? Is this against TOS? Pretty sure. Didn't they adopt new TOS to address the thing? Do you mind linking the tweet? I have some veteran pals who would absolutely want to hear this.
Maudlin. Self-pitying or heartfully or tearfully sentimental.
Yeah. That is a crazy thing to say. There you go. That's the tweet right there.
So I got some. I'm not seeing anybody snarking, but there are accusations that I'm getting of us being a snarker haven at this point. And so what I'll say is, should we create our own snarker server where it's like, you know how that their snarker server, their JStock clip cord was like hates Israel, hates Destiny, hates Ethan Klein. Should we do our own where it's like, I don't even know what country we should hate, but if somebody wants to come up with a country we should hate, go ahead and do so in chat. But could it be like hate Nick Fuentes, hate Hassan Piker, and then hate like what's the I don't know. What country? What country should it be? I don't want it to be Israel because I don't hate Israel. I don't want it to be India because that feels racist. I don't want it to be Russia because I actually wish the Russians would chill the fuck out. Is there a country that we could hate without it being like too horrible? Bolivia? Yeah, but don't you like big bootied brown women and cocaine? North Korea? That's not a bad suggestion. I think they're pretty fucking evil. I think China. I think it's got to be China. I think it's got to be China. Sorry, like no shit, but I think it's China because it's not like I don't give a fuck if they have trains. I don't give a fuck if they have nice cities.
We
I don't
love
give a fuck if they
China. We
modernize.
love
That's not the fucking
China.
problem.
We love China.
I think it's
GW.
I think it's the whole like stealing people's vital organs and fucking cultural genocide in Western Xinjiang. Nah, I think it's China. In my opinion, I'll keep reading your guys' suggestions. But I think we're gonna start our own snark cord of hate Hassan, hate Nick Fuentes, hate China. So, anyways, if we're gonna be snarkers, we should snark the right people, don't you think?
All right, ChatGPT.
Is Connor okay?
Hey, in peace. He did that shit. He did that shit mostly because he was lacking direction and was struggling in school.
That makes it all fine then. Well, that makes it all fine. Who cares if you signed up to an illegal, immoral war to go and commit heinous acts in someone else's country? If you were struggling in school, if you were struggling in Yankoid school, silly little Yankoid struggling in school, better go shoot some brown kids to figure out what's going on in your life. Go and get your head straight by shooting some brown kids.
Okay. This is where I know Kuihman is a see you next Tuesday. And Kuihman is rude as shit. And Kuihman is abrasive in the desire to pursue comedy. But he's also like a leftist, right? He's also like a leftist, or at least he's a social democrat, and maybe he would even want to do shit that's like more further, and he's probably sympathetic to systemic analyses and all that kind of shit. No one, including me, including Hutch, says it's funny that in America, like if you do have an identity crisis, effectively they do tell you to join the military. It is funny. That's a true point. But they tell you to join the military because they train you. They show you, they make you go to work every single day. They make you work 40 hours a week. They make you work out. They make you clean your bed and clean your room and all that kind of shit. So the level of discipline that people get and maintain from the military after they leave the military typically is pretty good for personal development. So while it could be funny, I think the straw man here is that, oh yeah, just go shoot brown kids for fun. And that's what I articulated earlier. That's part of the reason why I wanted to do this content.
Okay. I don't think, nor do I think anyone's receiving from this that what Hutch is literally saying. Yes, it's a hyperbolic joke. I'm deliberately latching on to the wrong part of being in the military. But obviously, yes, the part of being in the military that is being referred to here as improving your life is the training, the discipline, the money, the like, you know, getting your life together, basically. That's obviously the part that's being referred to when Hutch talks about this. I'm deliberately latching on, for comedic effect, to the idea of shooting brown kids. But not just for comedic effect, but also to emphasize the fact that the point being made here is that whether you do it for the training or you do it to go and shoot brown kids, you're still participating in an illegal, immoral war. And that's what you're saying. And you're saying your participation in that is fine because, oh, well, it helps my life, right? So I'm deliberately latching on to this caricature of the military experience, of a Marine's experience, of whatever, to emphasize that broader point. And it does feel kind of shitty explaining the joke, I'm not gonna lie. I try and avoid doing this most of the time, but...
Was because, like, that's obviously horseshit. It's obviously bullshit. That's not what anybody's saying. That's not what Hutch is saying. Hutch isn't saying, my poor, failing in school friend is permitted to go to Iraq and shoot brown kids in the face. Like, you know, the sister of the traveling pants, you know, he goes to Iraq to find himself. That's clearly not what he's saying. What he's saying is he enlisted as a product of his material circumstance. So, you know, as a leftist, don't you think you should be, like, I don't know, sympathetic to systemic analysis?
A whole world just exists for Americans to figure out their lives. That makes it all fine then, Hutch. I guess he's immune from any criticism or judgment. Your dead friend's immune from any criticism or judgment because he did it to figure out his head, figure out his life. What is the fucking argument here? What is the fucking argument here, dude?
The argument is that earlier in this very clip, you castigated correctly that Marines were a bunch of raped, mentally disabled rapists who eat crayons and commit war crimes overseas, and that, you know, they should be castigated as violent, potentially homicidal and suicidal dangers to society.
No.
And that's obviously why this protected category exists, because it doesn't capture the nuance of the Marine experience. And so Hutch is trying to articulate to you that his friend was killed in Iraq, and he wasn't a bad guy. He was a product of systems. Short says, you do understand Kuihman isn't trying to be funny, right? No, I think he's trying to be funny.
You can be both a product of systems and bad, right? Everyone is a product of systems. If you accept someone being a product of systems, then you could, you know, as being, you know, that doesn't negate any moral analysis of the individual. It allows you to understand how those people become that way, but it doesn't necessarily negate moral analysis of the individual.
When he says that, like, I don't think he's being serious when he says that Marines were all, like, molested as children, which is why they fucking go in their
No, I'm being 100% serious. I'm stating that as a matter of fact, actually. I'm stating that as a matter of fact, as an analysis of the statistics, with zero hyperbole or, yeah, I don't know, anything else. It's facts.
Mentally disabled. So they go overseas and commit war crimes and eat crayons. I don't think he was, like, serious when he said that. When he would, like, actually, like, go to the Marine Corps and be like, hey, were you molested? Hey, were you molested? Hey, were you molested? And, like, all three of them would say yes. You know? I think he was being funny. I don't know. You could go ask him. You think he was being literal?
Such a smart guy, but he was never a good student. And, you know, he needed the GI Bill. Like, he needed that shit.
Oh,
and,
I guess it's fine then.
He didn't sign up because he wanted to go over there and, like, fucking murder people.
Well, if that was the case, Hutch, then I'm sure he would have a very nuanced, intelligent take about the Iran conflict, Islam, and his regrets from the Iraq War, wouldn't he? And as such, Hassan wouldn't be addressed.
I don't have any regrets from the Iraq War. Okay?
You don't regret participating in an illegal, immoral invasion. Maybe you don't regret any specific actions you took there, and you thought your personal conduct was great, but you do not think, wow, I signed up for an illegal, immoral war built on lies. That's probably not great. I don't feel like that's a big step to take. I could be crazy.
I think the Iraq War was bad because we armed Iraq in the 1980s. Then we sanctioned the shit out of them in the 1990s. Kicking them out of Kuwait was perfectly sane and rational. And then, who was it? Donald Rumsfeld and Dick Cheney personally enriched their golf buddies in order to invade Iraq. But do you think I have a fucking problem killing Saddam Hussein? Absolutely the fuck not. You think I have any problems killing Uday or Qusay? Absolutely fucking not. You think I got any problems killing ISIS? Absolutely fucking not. So sorry, like the lefties, this is where you have to be, like, so raped as a veteran in order to...
Yeah, that's, like, not even the point. No one's saying you have to think Saddam Hussein's epic and you shouldn't have killed him. That's what you know what's being said at all. You know, you can think that Saddam Hussein dying is good, but still think the Iraq invasion is bad.
to hang out in like Hassan Piker in not Kuihman's community. I'm sure he doesn't give a fuck that much, but you have to be like such a raped veteran to go to hang out in like Vosh's community or Hassan's community. Even if you were like a fucking Pogue administrator who just like push papers in California for 4 fucking years, you basically have to show up with a cat of 9 tails and walk down the fucking street yelling shame as you like whip yourself in the back bleeding. It's so cringe. And expecting fucking veterans, sane veterans, to do that is cope, cringe, lame. And any veteran who does do that, who goes like, oh, you know, the American military complex is so bad, man. It's so crazy. I can't believe all the war crimes I was a part of. I'm not going to lie. Pretty much my presumption is that if they take that attitude, they were a fuck up, right? So half of their reason for disliking the United States military is because of geopolitical objections. The other half is they fucking sucked while they were in the military and the military treated them poorly, you know? Ex-cops is, well, I guess, yeah, if you get into the job and you fucking do nothing but talk shit about the job, I'm assuming you were bad at the job. You know? Anyways, sorry.
Harassing him in this clip. As you would know, if you actually listen to the clip, instead of just crying about how your friend got, you know, just randomly happened upon an IED. Just randomly happened upon, he was just going about his daily life, living a normal life, and there was just an IED. There was just an IED. He just walked into an IED. For no reason.
I'm about 6 months past engaging with comments like international law is fake and gay. I'm like about 6 months past that, Jimbley.
No. And there were plenty of fucking pogues who got killed, like motor transport. No offense to my motor T bros, but they are some of the dumbest motherfuckers I've ever met in my entire life. Motor T mechs are okay intelligence. Motor T drivers are truly, no offense to my professional drivers in my audience, I love you so much, but motor T drivers were some of the dumbest motherfuckers I ever met in my life. But that doesn't mean they were bad. They weren't bad people. They were oftentimes pretty fun and pretty cool and pretty interesting. And they went on logistics convoys in Iraq and they got hit with fucking IEDs and EFPs. I almost guarantee you, like, probably top 10 most lethal job was motor T driver, right? So, yeah, this whole thing of like, if you're complicit in the war machine at all, you're fucking evil until you apologize to all of us is cringe and lame and misunderstood and silly. So...
So I don't know what Connor's... So, like, this is just a straw man. No one's saying it's just like you're evil. But it is... if you take part in an immoral campaign, I thought you've done something immoral. You should recognize that.
Many such cases as far as people that sign up for the military. So, I don't know. This is such an outrageous thing to say.
That's what we're doing. If Twitch can apply this fucking double standard, when one veteran is getting their fucking arm...
Classic unfortunate IED incident. That happens, doesn't it, guys? You're just going about your normal civilian life and you walk into an IED. We've all had that happen, haven't we?
Well, weirdly enough, didn't that actually happen in England? So not an IED specifically, but there was a uniformed British army personnel.
Okay.
And then fucking 2 random jihadist dickheads ran up to him with a knife, chopped his fucking head off.
Sorry, what? We're taking me... Okay. So what does the murder of Lee Rigby have to do with IEDs, Connor? The point being made here is that in order for you to get hit by an IED as an American troop, you probably have to be in a country like Iraq where you're invading and people are laying down IEDs, right? You probably have to be engaged in those actions, you have to be part of that operation for that to be happening to you. Now, yes, we all agree you can get your head cut off anywhere. If this was a story about him getting his head cut off, yeah, that could happen anywhere. But you don't get IEDs in Britain.
In revenge for the war on terror, and then when they were arrested, covered in the man's blood, they said, hey, this happens in our countries all the time. So actually, a uniformed, non-combatant pogue in the United Kingdom actually did get fucking smoked for almost no goddamn reason. And then also, some pogues do get fucking smoked, and they're not active combatants. They're still combatants, to be clear. But anyways, yeah, totally...
So none of that is the point.
Missing the systemic analysis, I think, is very rich from like the people who are like, we just want everybody to have universal health care.
How was that systemic analysis? I don't understand how that was systemic analysis.
And we just want everybody to have dignity. And we just want workers to own the means of production. But if you join the war machine, then you're an unforgivable Nazi piece of shit. And I'm going to laugh at your death. It's like, okay.
Nobody's saying that. Nobody's saying that. Literally, the key part of this is that you can be very easily forgiven by simply recognizing that it was an illegal, immoral war that probably shouldn't have been taken part in. That's like, you know, the standard for any wrongdoing, basically.
Okay, yeah, You're clearly the compassionate people. I'm sure you can be trusted with power.
By an American congressperson.
Sorry, wait, no, I'm not an Iraqi child. Wait.
For opposing America waging Israel's wars, when Twitch doesn't fucking ban Asmongold for laughing at that.
Should have gone with something like, if you want to avoid exploding vehicles, you should avoid getting on a London bus in July.
Thank you for the 4.99. Thank you.
Saying yeah based and that he deserved it, when Twitch literally doesn't say a single damn thing about that, but then turns around and tries to.
Well, did Asmon like?
Where is the oil that we speak of in Iraq? They got a shitload of oil. Are you shitting me? It's small compared to Saudi Arabia, Venezuela, and Iran, but Iraq and Kuwait still have shitloads of oil per capita.
Do targeted harassment against veterans, or did he just? I mean, I don't listen. I obviously don't fuck with Asmon, but it's entirely possible that what Asmon said in that clip, whatever he's referring to, was extremely distasteful and disgusting. But not
When you slip on a banana peel and accidentally sell your soul to the U.S. military, doesn't that always happen, guys? Doesn't that happen? We've all had that happen, haven't we? When you just wonder, you slip on a banana peel in a comical fashion, you go falling back and sell your soul to the U.S. military. Whoops.
not technically a violation of TOS, right? Oh my fucking god, Hassan talking about a Twitch double standard is just so fucking funny. Yeah, for sure.
Ban me for this shit? Fuck this platform. I will never fucking come back here. Y'all are a bunch
Yes, he will. Yes, he will.
of dumb fucking bitches too for being like, oh, you're gonna get clipped.
So out of bounds.
Dumb motherfucker. Doesn't even realize his own lived experiences should have taught him a very valuable lesson.
What the fuck do you know about his life experience, man?
What he shared in chat,
What
he's
the
an Iraq
fuck?
war veteran.
How could you possibly? Sometimes, man, people just don't know how to turn that shit off. And
Why would you turn that shit off on stream? Why would you turn off the inflammatory, like bombastic, passionate response off on stream? Why would you do that, Hutch? Unless you want it to be an SSRI'd out.
Guys, we can't
You
judge
know,
them for leveling the
pity
two.
party like your
Don't you
stream.
know they were a troubled teenager? International law is for other countries anyway.
Thank you, Spencer, for $5. Thank you. Very true.
So what did I want you to get out of that? What I wanted you to get out of that is that Hassan is rude and abrasive, and there's many reasons to criticize him besides wanting universal health care for Americans, obviously. I think that his geopolitics, I've heard Hassan talk about geopolitics. I think 70% of the time they're like descriptively true, but then he commits lies of omission, and then he also doesn't know shit about your, like being in armed conflict or serving in the military or what being in the military is actually like or what the nature of casualties or armed conflict was in the war on terror. And unfortunately, I think that encourages people like Kuihman to run with dumb narratives that are popular on the left. Now, somebody was like, oh, he's just a lib, he's just a lib, he's just a lib. I'm pretty sure that we just...
Dude, literally, at what point... It's like he's taken away that I actually think veterans... the average US military experience is shooting brown children in the face. Obviously, I don't actually think that's the average US military experience. It's not necessary for the point here at all.
talked last week, and he said that he was a social democrat. I'm pretty sure he said he's a social democrat, and I don't know where we landed on like he's an incrementalist. He's a pragmatic person. He doesn't think that we're going to get decommodification of the basic human needs or workers owning the means of production or a moneyless, stateless, classless society anytime soon. So he's a liberal in that he values maximal human freedom, primarily because it lets him operate as a snarky critic on the internet. But then he's also a social democrat in that he thinks there should be like a robust welfare state that takes care of the civilian population. So, but at the same time, I think that if you look at his like geopolitical criticisms, he is incredibly sympathetic to leftist narratives about Israel-Palestine and the nature of like Zionist control of media and, their genocide and all that bullshit. So, yeah. Yeah, he's a labor supporter who would be fine with the Nordic society system. Well, dude, that's a social democrat to me. So, that's a social democrat. So, Hassan is a communist? Yeah, I think so.